Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to a beautiful morning. Let's start this wonderful morning with a lotus of gratitude. So let's close our eyes, make ourselves comfortable, and make two beautiful buds in our hands, ready to bloom and blossom and spell the course of the day ahead. Gratitude will enhance the quality of our life, the quality of our day, and so much more. So much to do, so much worth sharing, so much worth reflecting, so much work reflecting with ourselves and thinking that how grateful we are, how blessed we are. Life is magical, life is beautiful, giving us so many opportunities to grow, to learn, to thank. And here we are in our life, starting a beautiful weekend ahead that's full of probabilities, things. Let's go deeper in this world by being hopeful, by being thankful. Let's bow to the masters. And whenever we're ready, open our eyes to start our morning by reading this wonderful book, Same Soul with Many Bodies, right? Today we're going to be reading about relationships in chapter number 8. Once again, it'll be a, sorry, we're done chapter number 8. Just give me a second. No, we hadn't done. We're done chapter 7. So here we are. Chapter 8, Bruce Relationships. When we are in the human form, even though our ultimate goal is to merge with the spirit, the one soul, interaction with others physically, emotionally, and spiritually lies at the core of our life. How we handle this plays a large part in determining our future. A woman I know who spent her adult life in an ashram was a spiritual person, but she complained to me that she couldn't meditate at all. In one of my own meditations, I understood why. She needed to go out into the world, to be in many relationships, experience loss and grief, joy and love. For all her spirituality, she had vital lessons to learn. We all have many different places, types of relationships, one-on-one, with our families, our loved ones, with the people we work with, bosses, colleagues, and other employees, with our friends, with teachers, with students. Across our many lives, their bodies may change, the relationship with them may change, but we are still learning the lesson of the importance of relationships. Because we come around again and again, the same soul. Maybe your mother has been pushing your buttons for many lifetimes. Maybe in different lifetimes you've been her mother. Maybe you've been in other relationships with her that are not mother and child. Eventually, we must heal all our relationships, and we must use all our skills to do this, especially empathy, compassion, non-violence, and love. Communication is the key to every relationship. Love and openness are vital to the process, but so is safety. For it is not safe to communicate, you won't. How do you make the environment for communication safe? By knowing, first of all, that there are many ways of communicating: words, thoughts, body language, expression, the eyes and face, touch, and that each must be attended to. You should also understand that the soul with whom you have a relationship may have been important to you in the past during many lifetimes and over many centuries, and may be important to future centuries as well. A recent patient of mine was horrified to think that a codependent relationship she had with an abusive man, one she had managed to escape, was not over. She realized that the man might return to her in future life. How can I prevent? She asked. I don't want him back. The answer is to make sure there are no books in you that you will pull back. No to anger, no violence, nothing negative at all. If you can leave a relationship with love, empathy, compassion, without any thoughts of revenge, hatred, or fear, this is how you let go. You can choose to no longer have a relationship with that person or persons. You can interact only with those you feel a kinship to, only with those whom, in its broadest definition, you love. In future lives, you will be together with many of your loved ones, your soulmates, because you are functioning as a family of souls. Others will have to catch up to learn the lessons you have mastered before they too can join a community of souls. One of the most loving, moving examples of relationships in action involved Bruce, who came to me last year in terrible shape. He was suffering, he told me, from symptoms of chronic anxiety, sleeplessness, heart palpitations, sudden rages, and occasional alcoholic binges. He was a nondescript man with wet eyes, a wet handshake, and closely cropped brown hair that had incipient baldness. His speech contained cadences of the Midwest. He was from Milwaukee, but he had lived in Miami for 2 years with Frank, a producer 15 years his senior. Bruce was 35, who was connected with one of our regional theaters. Frank had once had a blazing career, but a series of flops had reduced his reputation and his income, forcing him to move from a mansion in LA to a humble home in Coral Gables. It changed him from a witty, contented man to a sour soul who took much of his depression out on Bruce through sarcasm and public humiliation. Of late, they had taken to fighting with each other, both privately and publicly, though neither wanted to end the relationship. Bruce was a costume designer. The two had met when Frank hired him for a production. They had entered a physical relationship quickly. Both men preferred to keep it clandestine and so lived apart in LA, sharing lodging only when they moved to Miami. When I asked Bruce why he stayed since Frank had become so difficult, he merely shrugged and said, with it all, I love him. Yes, moving out doesn't seem you'd have to stop seeing each other. It might loosen Frank's hold on you, I said, and it might ease some of anxiety. How does he humiliate you? By calling me a faggot or his mistress in front of our friends, and by making me do things I don't like, sexual things in private. You don't fight back. Sometimes, more these last few months, and the anger comes out in other ways too. But most of the time, I keep inside hidden, particularly in bed. You say it comes out in other ways when you drink, for instance, inappropriately, I presume. I get mad at bartenders and whores. Melos. Of course, a slight shudder showed what he thought is the idea of sleeping with women. Do you frequent them often? No, from time to time. Why? When I get tired of Frank hurting me and want to hurt someone back, physically hurt them, no, I make them do some of the things I'm forced to do with Frank. A kind of revenge, I thought. Could you give them up? I asked. Redirect your anger towards the person who provoked it. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I'm not sure I could show Frank the real depth of my anger. It's too dangerous, but I've given up the horse. It's a start. Good for you. His wet eyes overflowed and he bowed his head. No, bad for me. Why, it seems. He stopped me. I have AIDS. I don't want to infect anyone with it. His overall health had declining for some months. He told me he had a gastric ulcer. The birthmark on his abdomen had recently and inexplicably began to bleed. Panicked, he had it biopsied, but no cancer was found, and he was briefly relieved. So the scar that was left at the site would from time to time turn beetroot and ooze a drop of blood. This led him to his internist, who diagnosed AIDS. More a confirmation of my fears than a diagnosis, he said. Tests were taken, diagnosis was verified 2 weeks ago. Because of it, he made an appointment with me. I could help him with his anxiety, his relationship with Frank, I said, but I could not cure him of the disease through cocktails, and from now in, wide use that would slow him in its progress and add years to his life. His expression was profoundly sad. Extra years are no good unless I can get my life together. Then let me ask, do your parents know you're homosexual? They do now. I kept it from them as long as I could. I even made up a California girlfriend. I drive them about. I ride them about. But when Frank and I moved her here and started living together, they found out. Their reaction was shock, denial, believe it or not. Wasn't there some medicine I could take? I think they're more concerned about their friends knowing than anything else. After all, it's the Midwest, and they're about a century behind the rest of the country. He put his hand to his forehead in a theatrical gesture. The shame of it all. I laughed despite myself. They're good people, loving people, such ignorant on the subject. He went on, when I go home to visit, they greet me with love and respect. It's my brother who's the problem. Your brother? Yeah, I forgot to mention him. Yes, Ben's a Milwaukee big shot. Senior VP of Achna, lots of money, lots of friends, lots of clout. The Republicans have dangled the word congressman before his eyes, and he's been salivating after it like a dog at the track. And a gay brother. He shrugged. Goodbye, Washington. He came to see me about a year ago and asked me to change my name. I told him to go fuck himself. He persisted. It might be good if you disappeared for a while. At least don't tell anybody you're my brother. Well, that got me. How dare he? I'm just as good as he is, better, even though my lover's a man. I went after him. My last sight of him was his sorry ass running down Coral Way. If this was one of his sudden rages, it seemed to me justified, I told him. True, but like when I'm angry at Frank, when I think of Ben's attitude, I explode wherever I am and against whomsoever I'm with. Ben is just a half-assed, greedy, glorified insurance salesman. I pity him, and it's ridiculous that I want to kill him. I'm the better man, and better men don't hold a grudge, or a dozen of them. His rages did seem too violent to be explained solely by the circumstances of his life. And while his anxiety was natural, given the diagnosis of AIDS, I wondered if it was always so severe, like now, that it affected his life. Yes, he answered when I had asked about it. Even in school, when I had every reason to be happy, good student, loving parents, that sort of thing, I always felt a sense of dread. Now that I have something real to dread, it has gotten worse, but not that much worse. Maybe it comes from something that happened to you in the past, my childhood. No, I just told you it was extremely important. Not your childhood, I said. Your distant past. He leaned forward, explain. I did explain, and he agreed to a regression. Surprisingly, because I thought Bruce would be leery of hypnosis, not wanting to allow himself to become too vulnerable. He could go under more deeply than all but a few of my patients, but what he remembered was vivid. I am in ancient Egypt. It is during the reign of the great pharaoh, whose ambition is to build temples and palaces, proclaiming his might and his magnificence. There have been temples built before, but these are to be grander than anything ever attempted. I am an engineer, and the pharaoh has chosen me to work on two projects: the creation of a sanctuary and the erection of connecting colonnades. I've actually met with the pharaoh himself. It was there that he described his plans. It was, of course, an incalculable honor to be selected, and if I succeed, anything of my asking shall be mine for the rest of my day. When I told him I would need 500 laborers and slaves, He offered 1,000. No expense to be spared, no death in service to the ultimate goal regretted. The buildings are to sanctify the supreme divinity and must reflect his supremacy. Still, the Pharaoh has issued stringent commands. The sanctuary is to be completed in 7 years, the colonnades 3 years later. Only the finest marble can be used, only the strongest stones. We are to make sure that when it's completed, the result will proclaim his glory for all eternity. The task is difficult. They are the practical problems of transporting the stones and the marble, to say nothing of having adequate water in hand and the wood for the rails and on which to raise the stones. The weather, even in the winter, is blazing hot. Sand and windstorms are persistent hazards. Architects and engineers of equal talent, so the Pharaoh believes, will be designing and building other temples, other colonnades. We will no doubt be in competition with one another for what necessarily must be limiting supplies, even given the Pharaoh's wealth. And there is one more impediment. The Pharaoh has a cousin. I've met the man, a meddler, a sycophant, an egomaniac, with no talent and less taste. He is the overseer of the entire project. I and all the other architects and engineers are to obey him. His word is the Pharaoh's word, and thus is law. I am frightened of him. He could wreck everything. Indeed, Bruce paled as he spoke of the overseer. The man continued to exert his power, even in the stillness of my office. I was struck by the formality of Bruce's language, quite different from the colloquial speech used ordinarily. When I later asked him if he had ever been to Egypt, he assured me he hadn't. History and travel to historic sites did not appeal to him. I led him toward in his past life. No, my worries are confirmed. He meddles in everything. He seems to dislike me in particular. Perhaps he can sense my aversion to him, though I forbear to express it. At any rate, he is at my side nearly every day, offering ludicrous suggestions, countermanding my others, complaining that my comrades and I am working too slowly. Although it is he who stands in the way of progress, given the time structures laid down by the pharaohs, this increases the pressure on me to a point where I'm sure I will explode. Every day means a battle with myself to stay calm in the face of demands and his dawns when I can't satisfy them. About a year after work started, the scoundrel insisted the sanctuary be placed next to a different temple rather than by the foremost temple. When I remind him that this is directly contrary to the Pharaoh's orders, he calls me a fool in front of my colleagues and starts to walk out. What I fear comes to pass. I explode. I tell him he's a fool. He's nothing but an idiot and looks the part, but that he isn't stupid as a stone surrounding him. Let's take this matter to the Pharaoh, I said. He will decide who will have final authority. The Pharaoh's cousin retaliates in the worst way possible. Rather than go with me to the palace, he enlists a rival of mine, another engineer, to poison the wine I drink at dinner. I fall sick immediately. The pain is excruciating, and I am put to bed. That night, one of the guards sneaks into my tent and stabs me in the stomach. I die instantly. My last sight is of the Pharaoh's wretched cousin standing outside my tent, laughing. I brought him back. He was visibly shaken. Can you express what you're feeling? I asked. The place on my stomach where I was stabbed, he stammered. It's the same place where I had the scar from tissue from the biopsy, the wound, the bleed from time to time with no apparent reason. Anything else? He was in ecstasy of revelation, the overseer, the man who tormented me in Egypt during that past life. He's my brother in this one. Anger, as he had admitted, was a negative factor in his present life. It was at the most virulent when he was confronted by his brother Ben, who, after all, had asked Bruce to give up his identity to become invisible. I was as anxious as he to revisit another past life. Again, it was in ancient Egypt at another time. I am a priest, a healer, one of the very few employed by the rich and the powerful. Our medicine is arcane and not the usual herbs and lotions that lay doctors use. My healing method involves the use of what we priests call energy rods. When the rods are turned in precisely the right way, they emit healing sound, vibration, and light frequencies. The use is not random. There is a prescribed sequence of light and sound, an intricate order and pattern to how the rods are aimed at portions of the body. The art is secret. It involves energy and light and their accumulation, storage, and transfer. Where do you practice this medicine? I asked. His eyes glittered. In secret chambers within the healing temples. Only a few priests know of their location. Even those who do menial work in the temples do not know of them, so masterfully are they hidden. And are you able to work wonders? Exactly. We have cured many diseases. He leaned forward, and we are able to regenerate organs and limbs lost in the battle through the use of the torch, or the use of the rods. Yes, amazing. I had read about healing techniques and medicines in ancient cultures, and while I never read about the rods that Bruce described, I did know that Egyptian doctors claimed that they could regenerate limbs and organs and that they had apparently accomplished wonders in curing blood diseases, immune diseases, and diseases of the skin and brain. There is, in fact, an inner chamber and one of the Luxor temples that was used as a medical room. The walls are covered with paintings that show the doctors at work in these fields. I next saw Bruce a month later. In the interim, he had developed pneumonia, a common side effect of AIDS, and he had to be hospitalized. When he returned, his face was very white and he seemed exhausted. Though when I volunteered to put off our session, he insisted we go on. They're doing healing things for me. I can't explain precisely why, but I feel I'm on the edge of something virtually vitally important. It's essential I understand what it is before I die. Rather than have him go back again through, although it would have been valuable, I decided to see if I could use a mind-body connection to alleviate his physical symptoms. I want to try an experiment. I told him, "Are you up for it? Sure, anything." Then I want you to switch roles in your mind. You're an Egyptian patient receiving light and sound energy, and I want you to transfer that energy into your present body and mind. This was unorthodox, granted, but I did it because he was HIV positive and he was suffering pain at the age of the site of the biopsy. Why should your doctor be? I asked. Who should your doctor be? Frank, he answered immediately. We've had differences, but underneath it all, he still loves me. Frank is with you in Egyptian life. He's a priest healer. He knows the arcane science. Let him apply his knowledge to you. Bruce closed his eyes and leaned back in his chair. I could see his facial muscles relax and a bit of color return to his cheeks. It's working. I feel better. Excellent. Your daughter understands the use of rods. He knows the patients, the patterns, and the order of light and sound. This is the highest level of healing. Be grateful for it. I am. Oh, I am. The rest of the session was spent in silence. When Bruce left, I told him to meditate at home. The light and the healing will be with you there. It needn't be confined to this office. He came back not only feeling healthier, but with insights. My brother was with me in both past lives. He said he was the overseer in the first, but second, he was with another priest healer. And when you asked me to go back to the life and be the patient, it was Ben who turned out to be the healer of me, not Frank. I'm sure that's right. Now put yourself in Ben's place in both lifetimes. Project yourself into his body and perspective. He concentrated for several minutes, frowning with the effort. Then his eyes opened and his smile was incandescent. He's jealous of me, both in the past life and this one, even though he's the powerful one, the administrator or the politician, he's jealous. It's his own suffering that makes him so cruel. Bruce explained that although his brother was an Egyptian noble and administrator, he nevertheless resented Bruce's talent uh, and skills, which he didn't possess, nor could he ever learn. He was raised in an environment of absolute privilege and power. And then Bruce lashed out at him in public. He had to avenge the humiliation. Thus the poison. The knife thrust was extra. It was powered by anger, jealousy, and shame. He was obviously undergoing an intense empathetic empathic experience. I have rarely seen a patient so moved. What about your present life? What's your brother jealous of now? My parents' love, maybe because I was the most fragile child. They paid more attention to me than him. Ben's so strong he can get along by himself, and to him, that meant they loved me more. Though I'm not sure that's true. This is the revelation. I wish I had known it sooner. I asked the psychiatrist core question. How does it make you feel? Forgiving, loving. He's not the powerful one. He's just like me, a mixture of strength and weaknesses. It's glorious. Do you think he could feel this way? Of course. If I can, he can. We are the same. My second life in Egypt taught me that. Can you teach him? I can try. As I write this, Bruce has made enormous progress. His abdominal wound was healed. It never turned red or seeps blood. His ulcer is similarly healed. He and Frank have resolved their sexual issues and they have stopped fighting, though they still squabble. I think they both enjoy it through his past life and spiritual experiences. He has lost his fear of death. He does not see his brother as all powerful and realizes some of this feeling came from his own projections onto Ben. Of all the lessons his aggression has taught him, the most powerful he thinks is that relationship are in their profoundest sense between equal. And if we can laud the strengths of the other and forgive the weaknesses, for they are ours as well, then love will follow. He and his brother see each other often and communicate daily. He has turned my being gay into political plus. Bruce told me with a grin. Now he's a liberal Republican. In Wisconsin, you can't do better. In one of our last sessions, he told me that when he was Egyptian priest healer, he sometimes oversaw the healing ceremonies attendant to the application of the rods. In these ceremonies, he countered the power of the healing energies, light and sound, which in Egyptian times were believed to connect to the power of the divinities, but are now, he knows, attributes of the one God or the one. Bruce knows that he is and always has been immortal, that all of us are eternally interconnected, and that we are forever embraced by love. How wonderful. On Monday morning, we are going to be reading about security and the session with Patrick. And we've had about today a half an hour session of reading. And let's meditate for 10 minutes before we conclude the session so that we can have a blessed weekend. So I'd like us to relax, sit back, lie down, whatever's comfortable. Close our eyes. Just start concentrating on your organic breathing. No extra efforts. Just be the way you are. But just align yourself with the flow of your breath. Be observant of your breath flow in and breath flow out. Be grateful for the life lessons. Be grateful for so much that's coming your way. And now, going with this beautiful healing learning session with Bruce, let's imagine ourselves lying down on the table or a bed that's flat, more like a massage table, just straight, so it's comfortable. Where you're lying down, where your body meets the bed, it's comfortable because the bed is cushioned. And now, imagine a pair of hands that are scanning your body from your head to your toe very gradually. And the hands are scanning the energy flow. So wherever the hands stop is the energy flow is static because the blood flow is not happening, and therein the part is affected. The dis-ease. Either you have pains, aches, or some problem. When the scanning is done, the doctor, the healer, whose two pairs of hands have scanned your body, is closing his eyes and folding his hands and praying to the Almighty to give him the connection, the willingness, and the power to heal you. And automatically in his hand, you see a beautiful crystal rod. And right above where you're lying down with the bed, you see above you, when you open your eyes, that on the ceiling, there is a beautiful window as big as your bed, from where the sunlight comes in. And this beautiful window is a window from where the moonlight also shows in the evenings. The starlight also gives way. It's basically for light to come in. This very instance, this beautiful light is coming. You just become aware of it. And the healer, the doctor, takes the rod in both his hands and puts it in the center of your body, above your body, not touching it. And the light that comes starts filtering through that rod into your body. Like as if there's something in the middle and the light is going through that into you. And now this beautiful energized rod starts vibrating with the cosmic sound of Om, the healing sound. Feel the energy, feel the sound coming out from the rod and going in every cellular fiber molecule of your being. This present body is right now in the ancient Egypt. And see these beautiful light particles, sound healing, just giving your body wonderful sensation. And you will find that in your present body, you feel that sensation right now. Now, this sensation is nothing but an attempt to make the energy flow normal. Just let it flow. Feel the rod still there, scanning your body and flowing through your body with the light in the middle. And now there's a sound also. The best part about this healing is you don't even have to turn back. If you have some problem in your lower back or any area of the back, it's being healed right now from the front part. Your head is healed. All the trauma that was stored in it have right now become zero. The karmic debts have been cleared because you have accumulated good positive karma over lives. The negatives have been eliminated and the positives have been activated. And the minute this happens, whatever diseases in the personal present life are being healed right now. Feel the energy healing it. Where the arms while healing had stopped on the infected body part of yours. Whether you have diabetes and your pancreas aren't being able to work, or you have thyroid and the other glands are not being able to work, all of a sudden everything comes in harmony and everything starts working at its level best. Whatever blockages you had wherever, now your body is functioning at its highest best. Because love is the unconditional language that your body has right now received. and that heals it completely. Feel the healing, the vibration, the energy, the sound. And now, even though the healer has taken the rod back in his hand, covered with the fabric, and kept with it the secret piece of healing, your body is still activated and is being healed. Keep this healing energy with you throughout this weekend. And after 48 hours, when we connect, if there are any stories of your good healing and you face something, let's share it. But right now, keep this energy feeling in your mind, in your heart, in your space. And you can sleep with it or do your other chores with it. And I shall see you in the gap. With lots of love and light. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's meet each other in 48 hours. With lots of blessings and wishing you a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you, thank you, thank you.